the district is growing, the numbers are growing, and certainly appreciate all of your support over these last few months. I'm going to need your support in the next few months as we can see what is happening here as we go forward. But I want to make a couple of quick introductions. We had some members of my staff introduced, but we've been joined by another member who's actually my district director, Diane McBroom. Ms. Diane. And the other person that I have to introduce, who has always been there for me all of the time, and is my #1 advisor. I have a lot of staff members and a lot of good supporters, but my #1 advisor is, of course, my wife, Colleen. Before we get into some issues and talk about things, I think it's important now that we are approaching Veterans Day. To step back a little bit and pause and reflect on our men and women who are serving us overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq, but also to pause and reflect on the victims of just the horrible tragedy at Fort Hood. I understand President Obama's on his way now to meet the grieving families, and certainly all of our hearts go out to each and every one of them, as well as all of our men and women who serve. So let's just have a moment of silence. Thank you. Now we need to talk a little bit about some of the issues that we're confronting here. And I'm not here to give a speech because, quite frankly, I'm very, very tired. We had a very, very long week in Congress, really a late night last night. That, as I know, I've been talking to many of you who are watching, is spellbound on C-SPAN, that exciting channel. What's happening? I was on the floor watching some of it, but I was also in my office watching C-SPAN. But you had the same same reaction that I had listening to some of my Republican colleagues. I actually turned to Braveheart for a while to watch that. You can only take so much of that before you do that. But actually, I had to turn that off at the very end. We did have some very, very important movements, or very important speeches as well from Mr. Dingell. In fact, I ran down to the floor as John Dingell gave the close. I don't know how many of you saw that. But here was an incredible individual who'd spent his entire career, 50 years, in the U.S. House of Representatives, every year introducing a health care bill. Before that, his father had introduced that health care bill. He presided over the House during the rules procedures to do that, and then gave the closing arguments for us in Congress. I think it was a powerful moment, and to see his face, at 11:15 or 11:16, when we had 220 votes and we passed health care. Still have a long ways to go. We still got to get it through the Senate. We're still going to need a lot of help there, and then it'll come back in a conference committee. But I think it was a very, very important, meaningful step to move us forward. We need to continue to put the pressure on, make sure we're putting pressures on our members. I know our members in the Senate will be there, but we need to continue to make sure that your voices are heard, because I guarantee you the other side is out there, as you know, and have been very vocal out there, and it's very important. It's incumbent on all of us to be out there and making sure that we're really explaining what this is all about. There's a great deal of misinformation about this bill. There's all sorts of scare tactics, as you know. But we've got to just reaffirm to the American people what this is really about. It certainly is about the uninsured, which is very, very important. But it's also about just controlling cost and making sure that all of us, those of us who are fortunate enough to have health insurance now as well, can continue to have it going forward. Because the current system that we have right now is simply unsustainable. If you just look in this state, in the last, since 2000, healthcare premiums in this state have gone up 17 times faster than wages. That's simply unsustainable. People who have health insurance now see those prices continue to go up, deductibles continue to go up, people are losing health insurance. In this state, about 600 families lose their health insurance every single day. We need to have stability in the system. We need to have these changes in the plan that we have, and it's not perfect. We know it's not perfect, but it moves us in the right direction to make sure that we have that stability, that we have competition, that we can bring down prices and make sure that it's affordable for all of us in this room as long as we can. So, and one important piece that I think is very important for you to talk about is this health exchange. I find that as I talk to people out there and explain it, you actually explain some of the components of this bill, and people will actually say, well, that's a pretty good idea. That's not so bad. Well, this is in the bill. This is in the bill. And the one in particular is the exchange. The exchange, there's been a lot of misinformation about that as well. So I want to make sure just folks are comfortable with those facts as you're going out there, because you need to talk to your neighbors, you need to talk to your friends. We've got to put a full court press to make sure we can continue to build the public momentum necessary. So when the Senate acts, and I'm confident they will act, when it comes into conference committee, that it can get out of conference committee and we can have that vote to get this through. This is where we really need to put that forward. The exchange. Let me explain briefly that exchange. The exchange says that if you do not have insurance now, or if you are a small business person and you can't afford it and you want to provide it, that you'll be able to go into an insurance exchange. And what is the insurance exchange? It is basically your opportunity to choose from a variety of private insurance companies. A whole range of companies that will be in a very competitive marketplace nationwide to provide cost-effective health care for you. And you can pick based on price. Right now, we don't have competition in the insurance market. Here in Michigan, we've got one insurance company that has 70% market share. That's not competition. That's called a monopoly. And you've got those monopolies in states all across the country. You got to have competition. The exchange will bring competition into the system. You'll be able to see what the price is. You'll be able to see exactly what the benefits are. And when these companies compete with each other, you're going to have to get a fair price as they compete very aggressively. The other very important piece of that, and I believe is very important, is that there will also be, in the House version, or hope to continue to be in the Senate version, is a public option. We've got to have a public option. Option is nothing to fear. It's nothing to be afraid of a takeover. It is simply another option that you have in that exchange to pick. That'll be competition, honest competition to make sure that those insurance companies are competing. It has to play by the same rules as the insurance companies. They have to negotiate with providers. There isn't any government subsidies, although there's some money up front to get them started. They have to pay it all back as they go forward, and it'll be that kind of competition. So you hear some of the rhetoric out there. This is not about a government takeover. It's about bringing even more competition in the system so you can squeeze the margins that exist right now with the insurance companies and make it affordable to people. The other things that are very, very important in the bill is that it also deals with the underlying cost of healthcare. And it will start transforming the way we actually pay for healthcare, which I think is really where we have to go in the long run. It's something that I've been fighting for a lot in this bill and pushing back a lot with the leadership to get more in the bill. I'm happy to say we've come a long way, and the bill has a lot more of this, which is moving away from just paying fee-for-service on healthcare, but instead making sure we incentivize and pay for outcomes to make sure people are actually healthier when they get out of the healthcare system, not just by the number of surgeries and the number of procedures that are done. Because guess what? You pay by those, you get more surgeries, you get more procedures, and people aren't necessarily any healthier. So we've got to transform that. This bill does that. There are models out there around the country that are very successful. The Mayo Clinic is often put out as an example. First-class healthcare, one of the best healthcare facilities in the country, but because of the way they incentivize doctors for outcomes instead of procedures, the way they work collaboratively, they're able to deliver quality healthcare, top quality healthcare, at a price roughly 1/3 less than the average hospital in America. Those are the types of models we need. Henry Ford system actually does a great job in that here locally as well. Those are models that we have to replicate. That's the only way we're going to be able to get our arms around the spiraling healthcare cost. The other side talks about deficits and concerns about deficits. I'm concerned about deficits. All of you here, we are all concerned about deficits as well, but you cannot control deficits until we wrap our arms around and start solving this healthcare issue. It's just simply too much money that is currently paid by the federal government. So this is a critical component of it. That is what we're fighting for. It's about quality care for everybody in America, that you have that stability. It preserves what's great about the American system, which is competition at its best. It's a unique American system. It is nothing that I know, of course, here in this crowd, I know no one has to be bashful about it, to get out there and talk about this is where we have to go as a country. and that we've got to show some leadership in this issue, but you've got to be talking to your neighbors and friends. And we're happy to help you to get that message out. We've got a lot of information on the website. We're going to put more information on the website to make sure that we're able to make that argument out there. But this fight isn't over. That vote is as important as it was yesterday, and it was very exciting to see that bipartisan vote. You take it where you can get it, right? If you get one Republican, that's great. That bipartisan vote was